Hey everyone, Magic Sword here, and today we are excited to talk about Priest. What a novel concept! Shadow Priest got a load of support here. People have already discussed kind of broken combos with these cards in Wild, of course, so maybe they're not broken at all because Wild is just like that. Um, but but there's some pretty interesting stuff going on here. So let's start with our first like little, not strictly a shadow card, but functionally one is the Voidtouched Attendant. 1 mana, 1/3, so premium stats with upside here. Both heroes take 1 extra damage from all sources. All sources. So if somebody trades into this with a weapon, they take 2 damage, right? Somebody, life taps, they take 3 damage. It's kind of nuts how this works. So, of course, this is kind of like antithetical to Priest's fairly limited self damage, right? With like the thing that Raise Dead, right? But that's honestly fine. um, I see quite a bit of utility going on here in conjunction with some other cards. So, this is one of those ones where on its face it's just like good, and then you get into the synergies and you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah. So let's look at our next one here. Their little tool, right? 2 mana, 0/3. Shadowcloth Needle. After you cast a shadow spell, deal 1 damage to all enemies. All enemies, not just your opponent's face, not just minions, all enemies. That's a little busted. Just dealing 2 damage or 1 damage to everything for casting a spell. It gives your spell the additional effect of like an arcane blast. Right? That's stupid. Um, that's just really good, you know? This weapon, assuming again, we're operating under the assumption that Shadow Priest is good, maybe not perfect, but good. Because I think it should be. It looks like it should be fine. Maybe like tier 2. Um, this is probably going to work out pretty well just for controlling the board. It might even work that you want to run this with the um with the quest, right? Now I'm not saying you should also run like the legendary Benedictus, right? So the thing about Benedictus is he's like, yeah, I give you Void Spike for running only shadow spells. I'm like, okay, shadow spells are pretty good, that's fine. But not running holy spells is kind of a pain. But then the quest is like, well, I don't have that limitation and I can still benefit from this. And you're like, okay, I like that plan, right? you you don't need to run the full shadow package, including Benedictus, to run some shadow spells and have some shadow synergy, like Voidcloth or Shadowcloth, right? So I think in that way, we might see a bit of a sort of hybrid where like Quest runs this and like Palm Reading and Void Shard, which is a card we have yet to see. And there are a few other shadow spells that I'm forgetting off the top of my head that Priest just like once, right? So I think that full shadow package doesn't make the cut, but a mini package makes it into other Priest decks. That's my prediction. And that's based on all of these cards, right? So 2 mana, 2/3. If any hero took damage this turn, draw a shadow spell. Just tutors a shadow spell. It's a bit like our Dungeoneers, but it costs 2 because the condition, it doesn't like conditionally draw 2 more things. It conditionally draws 1 if any hero took damage. So like, did you have a minion on board? Can you safely go face instead of trade? Do you have a 0 mana Raise Dead in your hand? These are the questions we must ask ourselves, and the answer is usually yes. So this is going to see play if you run like any appreciable number of shadow spells, like anything over like 4 or 5 shadow spells, which Priest like kind of already does. So I think this definitely sees play, right? Just being able to tutor stuff is so powerful. Um, no, Psyfiend. This is a really interesting one. This is like that OTK enabler, right? Where you just you like spam out in Wild, you play this and like Radiant Elemental. It's basically sorcerer for priest, and then you play um, the 0/2 that like gains death rattle, like give you back spells you play on it. So you like keep reviving that thing with embalming ritual, and you keep like playing a shadow spell for free, right? That's the combo, and like in that process, you're also healing yourself. It's a very straightforward concept. It's a 6 card combo, which is small for wild, or not super large for wild, I should say. And like pretty cheap. And you can do it with rally as well, so you don't even need to like have them all in hand. You can keep tempoing stuff. But in standard, after you cast a shadow spell, deal 2 damage to each hero. Um, eh. I mean, could be good. Um, I don't think, like I said, I think the pure shadow package is okay. Maybe there's a standard combo that isn't an OTK, but like does quite a bit of damage and mitigates the damage to yourself. Maybe that sees play. I'm not sure. I'm not in love with this card. I think the full shadow package is not going to cut it. I think the pieces of a shadow package will make it into whatever priest deck ends up being dominant. Void Shard, however, is just a good card. Deal 4 damage, not just to a minion. Deal 4 damage. Lifesteal for 4. That's fine. That's a good card, especially if you are increasing everyone's damage from a source or from any source, or if you have spell damage, or if you're like utilizing your void synergies, right? Or shadow synergies, I should say. So really, this just strikes me as an all-around powerful card. Um, and that's kind of the secret to making these synergy cards work, right? If the synergy cards are okay, then and the cards they are synergistic with are powerful, then the synergy cards become powerful. And that's what we see with maybe not Psyfiend, but with Twilight Deceptor, right? It's powerful because shadow spells are good. Palm Reading is good. Void Shard is good. Void Shard actually also enables Twilight Deceptor on like turn 6, so in the mid game, right? I think Shadowcloth Needle enables Twilight Deceptor as well. There is a lot going on here. Keep in mind that Call of the Grave, it's another card that was revealed recently. So that would be like a Death Rattle Priest card. That also is a shadow spell, and it's 1 mana, so that hard enables Shadowcloth and Twilight Deceptor. Shadowcloth on 2, Call of the Grave, Twilight Deceptor on 3. And I don't know. It just seems like this shadow package will be good in Priest in general, just not like it doesn't stand up on its own. I think Benedictus is not great. So let's check out our one non-shadow card. We got one holy card here, which is why I can't just like split it into Shadow Priest and then one video on Shard of the Naaru. So 1 mana tradable, silence all enemy minions. Yeah, that's good. This is just like a really powerful holy spell. It is imagine that 4 mana silence all. That's like already like it was bad. It's a little too expensive, but it did see play. Dispel whatever saw a little bit of play. This is that for 1 mana, and it doesn't automatically draw a card, but it can if you don't need it right now. And that draw is also only 1 mana. This is a really good card. I think that in any meta where you want to see a lot of death rattles, or where you end up seeing a lot of death rattles or like onboard effects or buffs, which all of those things have come up so far in other people's packages, this sees play. So I think Shard of the Naaru is going to be also pretty essential in whatever form Priest decides to take in this upcoming expansion. So that covers Priest. Thankfully, it was a little shorter than the Mage stuff. I don't have as much to say because this, I feel like it's easier to justify why something is good rather than why it's bad, right? That feels a little more self-evident because when you're making like a counterclaim, it feels like a counterclaim when you're like saying like actually this is bad. Like I kind of want to talk more about it so that way people don't get mad at me as much because people tend to get less mad when I don't know if I agree with that. I was going to say people get less mad when you say something they think is bad is good, not the other way around. But try having an opinion about Star Wars. like any Star Wars. And you'll see why I think that's up in the air. So anyway, tell me what you think about these priest cards or Star Wars in the comments below. And make sure you leave a like if you like the video, sub if you want to check out my other videos. There's a playlist with all of my pre-release reviews, and that will also contain my tier lists when I get around to those at the end here. Yeah, that's all I have for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.